Fascinating comment there by Guy Dietrich about the 14-year-old girl in the classroom who was asked what she was interested in, and she said an interface between IT and the human brain. A 14-year-old. Fabulous. Okay, we're going to keep it in the classroom. EdTech. Different region, different software? All right, so Silicon Valley has its sights on the classroom, but how far can it go? Lots of us are learning online. How far can it go from removing books from the classroom? So, I've got some difficult to pronounce names coming up here now. Henry Sender of the Financial Times is taking the class, and the pupils will be founder and CEO of the Frescoed Academy, Michelle Sun, founder and CEO of Huahua Mark Luo, and co-founder of Byju's, Divya Gokulnath. Please give them a warm round of applause. Was it okay?
Thank you all for coming today. If you're wondering what these books are doing here, it's kind of a negative reminder of how irrelevant this kind of stuff is today. I am especially excited to chair this panel because I discovered one of the EdTech startups a year or two ago, and you will hear some very different stories today. My theory is that where governments are most dysfunctional, that is where tech startups can have huge impact. And in India, in remote places, many teachers never bother to show up. So with that introduction, I'm going to turn to Divya first, who will give us a brief description of what Byju's does, and then Michelle will talk, and then Law Jen. So thank you all very much, and Divya, over to you.
Yes, Henny, like you said, our classrooms haven't changed in the last 100 years. We've changed the way we eat. Technology disrupted the way we consume content and media, but it's yet to disrupt education. So maybe I can start by talking about the challenges traditional education faces today. And one is the access to great quality teachers and education, like you said. The second is the one-size-fits-all approach. It's not personalized. And the third is learning is still driven by the fear of exams and not the love for learning. It was these three stark requirements which made us think about creating a product which can address all the three issues. So in 2011, the core team of Byju's, we were like 8 co-founding students, and Byju himself, who is today called a celebrity teacher, decided to make a product which is interesting, engaging, yet effective, where a student can come and initiate learning on their own. So from where we started, we launched the application in 2015. Today, we have about 35 million students on our platform across 1,700 towns in India. And I think the most exciting part is that 75% of the students are outside the top 10 cities. The application is for students in classes 4 to 12 for increasing their fundamentals, bettering their fundamentals in math and science, falling in love with learning. And we were so inspired by the response we saw that now we have collaborated with Disney for an early learning program for classes 1 to 3 as well.
Thank you. We'll come back to you. Michelle.
Great. Thanks, Henny. So for us, Frescoed Academy, when we started 6 years ago, it was really inspired by seeing how the world is changing. Like Divya said, that we're surrounded by technology, and my nephew, who's 2.5 years old, knows how to unlock my iPhone these days. So I think about my own childhood, where I did have computer classes growing up, but I was learning how to switch on and off the computer.
How old were you when you had your first computer class, and where was that?
I think I was around maybe 10. Yeah. So I did learn a bit of programming, but today we have so many more tools out there in the market that is easy to set up and very accessible for kids as young as 4 years old. So when I first started the company, it's really to bring this fun learning experience to children and make them understand that it doesn't have to be someone geeky wearing thick glasses to learn coding. And as we go along in the past 6 years, we realized that the challenge is, and the opportunities are just so much around the world, not just where we operate offline. So we have been collaborating with MIT to train the trainer. Every year I am participating in the program that they train teachers to teach globally how students learn coding. And I'm happy to share more later on in this panel as well.
Thank you. Luo Jen, Michelle was saying that she first studied coding when she was 10. Is that too late? Taiwan Lama?
Well, it's great, you know. I get my first programming course when I was 12, because I'm very older than her. Okay. Actually, I got my computing bachelor degree and a master degree all from computing school. Yeah. So actually, what does Spark Education solve in China? You know, because of the population in China, and a lot of children, they have to face exam, a lot of exams. You have to take exam from the kindergarten to primary school. And from the primary school to junior school, you have to take exam. Okay, a lot of exams. Finally, you have to go to the college. And it's a final exam for most of the children. Yeah. So Spark Education wants to change the status. They want to change all the children from the test taker to logical thinker. That's what we are doing now. Spark Education is an online education company. And the class in here is a live streaming class. And they have 4 to 6 students in a group or in a class. And actually, we use a lot of technologies to build a very attractive class for the children. And I think we want to make them love learning, love thinking. Yeah.
You know, all of you say the most important thing is to love learning. And you're creating these startups in a world where education, which is mostly defined by government, is all about test taking. I mean, how many millions of students take Gaokao every year and obsessed with Gaokao
Wow.
from the beginning?
I don't know exact number, but you can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, from your point of view, does traditional education have to change? And will that change come from governments and then make your jobs less vital? Michelle.
Okay, I'll take a stab at that. So for us teaching kids how to code, when we think about the government policy and you know what is happening in the public education system, it's really something that I think government, teachers, and parents, they all think that coding is important to teach to the young generation. And the past years that we interact and work with the public sector is that there is a Chinese saying that it's like they have heart, but there's lacking of the effort, 有心无力. So what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of changes that is required to introduce coding to everybody in the country. And I think the government is putting a lot of effort, and the teachers, when we mostly interact with them, they actually reach out to us themselves, asking for training, asking for materials, asking for support. And so what we see is that there, and of course parents seek out to us to have class for their students, for their kids to have classes. So what I'm seeing is that companies like ourselves is kind of bridging that gap where in the traditional classrooms, teachers need to be upskilled first, curriculum needs to be standardized, and parents also need to have some uniform expectation of what the children should learn in which age. So yeah, that's where we see as it's moving in the right direction. At the same time, it would take quite a while to get there.
You know, when we were preparing, I asked my panelists, should we talk about affordability? Because in a way, what Luo or Michelle, and certainly what Divya are doing, is reducing in opportunity inequality. You're giving access to education and relevant education to kids in India and China and East Asia. They all said, no, affordability is not interesting. But I do think that it's so crucial. You know, one of the things that keeps coming up in panels at RISE is regulatory risk, government risk. Is that a problem for you with Byju's? Do you have interaction with the government? Does the government support you? Does it create regulations and say you need licenses? Or do you just exist in a totally separate world? What's it like for you?
Yes, so today we exist in a world where we are there for a student when they're learning on their own so that they fall in love with learning. So when you talk about the government, I think the government is in fact trying to do a lot to make it better, but there is an inherent challenge because we are 1.3 billion people, 359 million youth. So the first challenge.
So 1/10 of those youth are Byju's students. An amazing data point.
But I still think we have a long way to go. Just scratch the surface. And the thing is, the thing we're trying to solve is a teacher-student ratio in a classroom. The ideal worldwide ratio is 1:10. At India, we're at 1:40. And with an ever-growing population, that's going to be difficult. So we can have smart classrooms. But I think if teachers can be incentivized to use them, so there is a change required at the grassroots level. There is a learning behavior change required from the student, from the teacher. It might be even easier for a student to do that if you can give them a learning program in a language that they understand, in a format that they understand, so that it's easy for them to learn, engaging for them to learn.
Thank you. You've heard Divya talk about their partnership with Disney. You've heard Michelle talk about partnership with MIT. Luo-Jen, can you talk about your ecosystem and who your partners are and in developing your business model?
Okay. Actually, we don't have the famous partner because this kind of the education is quite new in China. Actually, we built a brand new education experience to all the children in China. Yeah, that's amazing. You know, if you have the chance to look at our class, you feel very good. I believe you want your child to join our class immediately. Yeah.
I'm not sure what a happy childhood does for people later in life. But Michelle, tell us what your greatest challenge has been as you built up Frescoed Academy.
Yeah, definitely. And so in the first few years, we had so much demand that come through our doors, and we actually started out like purely offline, taking classes and recruiting teachers and having students learn in a small class environment. And very soon we realized that we want to extend our reach and impact more students. And that's been something that we think about constantly, where coding is something that requires quite a technical skill set to teach in the classroom. And for us to recruit the best teachers that are also good with kids is always a challenge. And that's why in the past few years, we have evolved our business to partner with MIT to empower more educators around the world, share our expertise in teaching coding to more teachers and educators around the world. Another thing that we have been doing is also to connect tutors globally to students around the world so that they can have online classes on their own. And we provide the curriculum for the teachers to teach. So these are the challenges that we evolve into opportunities over the years.
How do you make sure your content is relevant? I mean, this world changes so quickly. How often? Is it a continuous thing to keep upgrading?
Yeah, definitely. So for example, like Python, one of the languages that we teach, they are always pushing out new libraries. They're always everyone is migrating from Python 2 to 3. So our curriculum is always evolving and changing of the syntax, changing of more relevant examples for teachers to connect well with the students.
You know, Divya, your startup is an Indian startup, but you have some of the best global investors on the planet who are investors with you, and some of them are philanthropic, like Mark Zuckerberg, Priscilla Chan. Others are Canadian pension plans, others Sequoia. You just got money from the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Qatar.
Yes.
What is your biggest challenge? Because it's obviously not funding.
Well, I think the biggest challenge is mindset, right? So what really needs to change is people need to understand that you can learn online. It is much better than learning in a traditional classroom. If you spend 40 minutes with a book, you can finish that in 10 minutes if you're taught right, if you learn right. And I think, and challenges, I think every challenge is an opportunity because what our business model does is the first 15 days is a trial period where the student can experience the application. Parents see how well they are using it, and that converts into a full-year paid subscription. And I think an indicator that we are slowly challenging and bettering this mindset today is that 85% of our students renew the course year after year.
85%.
Yes.
You know, are there disadvantages? You know, in so many cases, you know, because of Mukesh Ambani's Geo, data is almost free in India. And obviously very highly motivated kids in remote areas are learning online. But is there a disadvantage not to have more human interaction?
Well, I think that's what the app is trying to solve now. So when we launched in 2015, after 4 years of research, it was more of a video learning product. Today, in the last 4 years, with the data we have from 35 million students, the app is personalized to the style and pace of each and every student. So if you were learning a concept in sound and I was, the learning journeys for each of us would be completely different. And I strongly believe that each and every child wants to learn. We are born curious. And the environment plays a huge role. Now, when you're growing up, it just takes somebody to say, do not ask that question 10 times to a child to inhibit their curiosity. So I do believe that if you give them the right learning product, every child will be initiated and will start learning on their own.
Well, Jen, from your point of view, you know, obviously none of this would be possible without technology. But will technology change so much in coming years that your business model will be completely different 5 years from now? How will technology change your existing model?
Okay, that's a good question. And now we use technology, the AI and the big data, to give each child different learning experience. And based on their capability, based on their maybe the behavior in the class. And I think that's the beginning, yeah, because we collect a lot of data from the students and from the teachers. Yes, so our teacher now is more easily teaching the children because we give them a lot of details of how each child is learning. Yeah. In the future, I think AI and big data will change the class more and more. And I think the VR the AR also changed the classroom. Yeah, we are still researching on how AR and VR technology to change the class, and we can use them in our class.
We're exactly out of time. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I
you.
have
Thank
no
you.
idea what they're going to do with these.
Thank you.